She's back. Hi. So I have been gone for a while. Also, don't comment on my outfit. No one comment on how I've worn this outfit before. I like the outfit. So I have been gone for a while and I haven't made a video. I had plans to make videos, but let's just say that things went really south. Okay, I had a lot of medical issues, a lot of mental health issues, also just too many issues that stopped me from filming. But now I am back. I am ready. I am so excited to get into today's video because it's going to be freaking awesome. I just watched Heretic and Conclave back to back, and I feel like there are some parallels that obviously I could draw from both of these films, not just because it's religious, well, mostly because it's religious. First off, let's get into Heretic. Heretic? Heretic. Heretic. Heretic? Genuinely, I was so excited when I first saw the trailer of this movie. It was kind of trending. I feel like most people have heard of it or at least have seen that part of the trailer, the part with the candle and the blueberry pie. If you know, you know. The plot basically revolves around two Mormon girls go over to a man's house to preach the word to him or teach him about their religion. They end up getting stuck in this house. This man is attempts to, I guess, test their faith in very interesting ways. I feel like religious right now. It's making its way back into mainstream media because of like certain wars that are happening and certain evil people who are trying to use it as a means to their own evil ends. And I feel like religion has just, it's so back. This movie is so well written. The dialogue is really what carries the movie. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You know, it knows its strength and it plays into that a lot. And I like that. I really enjoyed it. The first scene in itself of the movie just like captures that perfectly. In the opening scene, we get an exchange between Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes, who are the two main characters.
Magnum condoms are basically same size as regular condoms.
And it's this conversation that they're having about protection. Paxton says that she heard that magnums aren't really big, but are just marketed that way. Barnes immediately answers that that's false, but realizing her mistakes, she says she only knows that because her sister told her so. Paxton goes on to describe an adult film video that she'd seen, but immediately denies actually watching those sort of videos. And in both of these conversations, it's obvious that each one of these girls has had some sort of sexual experience, but because of their religion and their shame, they're not able to be open about that with each other. And this just shows like their dynamic with each other.
Which makes you think, like, what else do we believe just because of marketing? Like, if you grew up being told the Book of Mormon is fake, you probably believe it was fake because that's what you were told.
The natural question that most of us would have would be, well, if marketing is so good, then what about people who have been marketed a religion and just believe it's real because of how good the marketing of that religion is? And I think that that's what Paxton wanted to say. But again, because of this relationship that she has with Barnes and both of them just kind of being closed off in a way, she says it in a very overt way. The exact same sentence is said by Mr. Reed later on, although more directly.
It has the fewest members because it doesn't advertise. Doesn't have people like you knocking on doors, selling people a better life, a better board game, a better song. You ever think about that? How missionaries are really just salespeople for an organization?
And this could be the writer alluding to the fact that Mr. Reed and Paxton are somewhat on the same intellectual level. And speaking of Mr. Reed, honestly, I really like the type of way that this villain sort of was written. This isn't like a typical thriller, you know, where the main evil guy is outwardly very intimidating or scary. What was more terrifying about Mr. Reed is how charming he was. He was very charming, very calm, collected, and very smart. So even in moments of tension, where you could obviously sense his tension, he could reel it back in and make it seem very normal, even though it was not. And I think that that was a great writing choice. But I want to get into Mr. Reed a little more here, and I want to sort of get into the philosophy behind him. To me, Mr. Reed is a character that symbolizes the worst imaginings of nihilism. He values rationalism to such a high degree that he's willing to commit basically atrocities just to prove his point, to critique these religious groups that he resents, even though he's basically doing the exact same thing. And I think that that's what makes him so terrifying. He's so deep into his nihilism that he has no moral obligations. He's someone like Dostoevsky's worst nightmare, I think. And I'm not here agreeing with the notion that you can only be moral if you're religious or if you believe in God. Like God is the only way to ground your morality. And I don't agree with that at all. But Mr. Reed is not concerned with morality. Even though he pretends that he is in certain instances when he's trying to critique the religion that the girls are from, when he criticizes the church's misogyny, but he's literally keeping women in cages in his basement. Hello, I'm sorry. But he's not concerned with that. He's just so much more concerned with proving a point. And someone could ask themselves, like, why the hell would anyone create such an intricate plan and do such insane things just to prove a point to two Mormon girls that their religion isn't real? Who is Reed actually trying to convince here? Us or himself? But I also found it like an interesting choice how Paxton and Barnes, they weren't trying to convince Reed that his stance was wrong. They also have their own doubts about their faith. I think it's very interesting that Mr. Reed, or Reed's antagonist, the opposite of what Reed is not complete blind faith in religion. It's Sister Paxton, someone who, although seemed like she was the type to just be blinded by faith, someone who isn't quite sure about the existence of God, but is willing to take that leap of faith into believing because it's helped her help other people and care for other people, a way for her to feel more connected to others.
It doesn't work, but I think it's beautiful that we all pray for each other. Even though we all probably know it doesn't make a difference.
It just reminded me kind of like Albert Camus' later works. Instead of being very like hedonistic, he sort of starts to recognize later on that the way to not necessarily combat nihilism, but I guess kind of combat nihilism, is to find connection with others. Because whether you're someone who chooses to fill the gap of meaning with a deity, or if you're someone who chooses to just move through the emptiness, I think all of us can recognize what's important, and that is the thing that's right in front of us, each other.
Certainty. Certainty is the great enemy of unity. Certainty is the deadly enemy of tolerance. Even Christ was not certain at the end. Dio mio, perché mi hai abbandonato? He cried out in his agony at the 9th hour on the cross. Our faith is a living thing precisely because it walks hand in hand with doubt.
Unlike Heretic, Conclave isn't really about criticizing religion necessarily. The plot is basically the Pope is dead, there needs to be a new Pope, and we just go through the politics of popes. It was such an interesting story to see these people who just seem so above the human experience, quite literally religious politics and what may or may not go on behind the scenes when there needs to be a new pope. I think that was so interesting. What I really liked about Conclave, though, is that it's not necessarily imposing an opinion. Do you know what I mean?
It insists upon itself, Lois. What?
When I was watching Conclave, by the way, the entire time I was watching it, I was like, this needs to be a book. They need to turn this into a book. And guess what? It's based off of a book. I knew it. I can always tell. There was just something about it that feels like you're reading a book. Best way I can explain this. Conclave lays the story out like a book and just lets you as a viewer come into it, analyze, put the pieces together yourself. Kind of like God in a way. You just get to watch what's happening and come to your own conclusions. That's another thing. I think in a world where everyone is trying to tell us their opinions through everything. I mean, this is literally what this video is. It's me telling you my opinion on these movies. It's so nice to watch something that isn't really and obviously it is trying to say something. It's not really imposing it on. You know what I mean?
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean. I think that narrative wise, this was so good. I think it was also very well written, but I also really liked the visual aspects. I think the cinematography was bonkers. It was so beautiful. Oh, I just knew I would like this. I knew I would love it. Listen, the Catholic aesthetic, I'm not Catholic, but let me tell you something. I love the Catholic aesthetic. While I was watching this, I'll tell you what I was thinking. This question that sort of connects everything in this movie for me. In the center question, has modern culture affected the Catholic Church? Arguably, the Catholic Church has always been political from its very inception. And Conclave shows sort of modern politics within the church, where, you know, you have conservative popes, and then you have the liberal popes. And then luckily you have united centrist. I guess you have the one person who's like, our job as popes, as priests, as what bishops, as all of these things is not to really get involved with politics. Our job is to bring God to the people, no matter who that person is. It's to help people, it's to be there for the people. And I think that that's such an important message. You know, religion has always been used for bad. But I feel like right now, especially, being religious just means a certain political alignment, politically aligned with a certain type of group. Religion, whenever it's political, people will commit atrocities for their religious beliefs. People are currently committing atrocities because of their religious beliefs, which is why it should never be political. I think that it should stay as a spiritual thing. It should be way over there. And it should be a personal thing and never something that is integrated into the government. But that is just my opinion, that you are also on my channel, so everything that I say is correct. You tell me what you think. Honestly, I really, really want to know what other people's thoughts are on this. Speaking of, though, I said that Conclave doesn't really criticize religion. It doesn't. It illustrates. The sisters of the Catholic Church are always seen, but they are never heard.
One sin which I
Eminences. Although we sisters are supposed to be invisible, God has nevertheless given us eyes and ears.
There's this scene where Lawrence tries to come into Sister Agnes's office. That really pissed me off. Like, I started to get mad because I'm like, this is the only place where she has power. And here comes this man being overbearing and overpowering her in her only place where she has, you know, autonomy, basically. Honestly, I don't want to dissect Conclave too much because I don't think that I would be doing it any justice. I think that it is something that you should watch and again come to your own conclusions. See what it's illustrating for you. See what you are taking away from it. And the beautiful thing about Conclave is that if you're religious, you're going to love it. If you're not religious, you're also going to love it, I think. Obviously, you know, you're allowed to have your own opinions. Maybe you didn't like it. And if you didn't, I want to hear about it. And if you did like it, I also want to hear about it. If you did like any of these or didn't like them, honestly, or whatever you want to share, maybe about what I said, if you want to disagree, agree, I really would like to hear that. I love, 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 love being able to critically analyze media. And I think it's so cool that we get to do that. And it's so nice seeing people in the comments talk back and like have their own opinions and like make me see things in a new way. That's always super fun. So if you have anything to say, please let me know. You don't, that's still fine. I hope that everything that you watch, not just movies, but even TikToks or small little things that you watch, that you could critically analyze all of it. And I hope that you can find fun in it because it's always super fun. It's like a game to like watch things and understand what exactly it's trying to say, where it comes from, and what it says about today or about yourself. I think that's always super fun. I think that I'm done. I'm very thirsty. And I'm very sleepy, and my face is itchy, and I'm very hot. And I think I'm getting a sun rash. Okay. Bye.